The smile on my husband's face was chilling as he slid the termination notice toward me. Pack your things. You're done here. I'm taking over this company, all 8 million of it. Your replacement is already lined up. Oh, and expect divorce documents by morning. Security appeared at his door within moments. As they escorted me through the hallways I'd walked for years, I checked my watch. 9 minutes until my failsafe triggered. They had no idea what was coming. Let me back up and explain how everything unraveled. 5 years ago, my partner Jacob and I were two dreamers cramped in a tiny apartment, living on cheap takeout and ambition. Rain streaked our windows as we mapped out our vision for what would become Core Shield Security, a company that could anticipate cyber threats before they materialized. Imagine predicting attacks before hackers even launched them, Jacob said, his excitement infectious. I adjusted my glasses and nodded. Give me some time. I'll create something unprecedented. His response then seemed genuine. This is exactly why we're perfect together. You turn impossible ideas into reality. Those early months were intense but magical. We survived on determination and terrible coffee shop sandwiches. While Jacob pursued investors and clients, I disappeared into the code, constructing our platform piece by piece. We seemed perfectly complementary. Our wedding was hastily arranged during a product launch, a budget dress, courthouse ceremony on a Tuesday. Jacob's vows went beyond the standard script. True partners in everything. Equal shares in business and life. Your success is my success. I believed him completely. The company's growth exceeded our projections. Within 2 years, we'd upgraded from our cramped apartment to actual office space, nothing glamorous. It's just a renovated industrial building. We brought on our first team members, landed a 7-figure contract, and suddenly Core Shield was real. Or so I thought it was ours. The changes crept in gradually. During team meetings, Jacob started talking over my technical explanations. What she's trying to say is ... He'd interject, then mansplain my own work back to me. When I mentioned it privately, he'd brush it off. I'm just clarifying things. You know how you get lost in the technical weeds? Client presentations became his solo performances. I'd spend days preparing demonstrations only to watch him present everything while I sat silently decorating the stage. She's our technical wizard, he'd tell clients with a condescending smile. She works her magic behind the scenes. Behind the scenes where he wanted me permanently, when Melissa Rodriguez interviewed for our operations position. I was actually relieved. Finally, another woman in our male-dominated environment. Her credentials were impressive: MBA from a top university, years at a major tech corporation. She's exactly what we need, I told Jacob after her interview. He hired her immediately. Melissa integrated seamlessly, reorganizing our chaos into efficiency. She brought treats to meetings and never forgot a birthday. I thought I'd gained an ally. The late nights started gradually. First, a crucial client pitch. Then departmental restructuring. Then quarterly planning. Always something urgent that couldn't wait until morning. Head home, Jacob would tell me around 7. Melissa and I need to finish these projections. Don't wait up. I'd drive home alone to our empty house, heating leftover food and falling asleep waiting. Only to wake when he crawled into bed at 3 in the morning carrying her perfume. You're imagining things, he said, when I finally questioned it. Half the women in this city wear that fragrance. You're being paranoid, was I? Self-doubt crept in like fog. A board meeting that September should have been my triumph. I'd completed a major upgrade that tripled our processing speed. Clients were thrilled. But when Jacob presented to investors, my breakthrough became a generic team effort. Don't you mean led by your CTO? One investor asked pointedly. Jacob laughed it off. Obviously, she contributed significantly, but this was truly collaborative work. I sat frozen, unable to contradict him publicly. Melissa took notes beside him, expression professionally neutral. That night, lying next to Jacob's sleeping form, I realized something fundamental had shifted. This wasn't our company anymore. It had become his empire, and I was just another employee who happened to share his bed. Morning brought clarity. I started paying attention, really paying attention. Melissa always positioned herself beside Jacob, her hand on his arm when laughing at his jokes. His use of we when discussing decisions, but we meant him and Melissa now, not him and me. That October afternoon, I stopped by Jacob's office with his favorite Thai food surprise visit. His door stood slightly open. I could hear him in a conference room down the hall. Melissa's laptop sat open on his desk, still logged in. I should have just left the food and walked away, but seeing her personal computer in his private space made me pause. The top email preview caught my eye. Can't wait for this weekend. The cabin is perfect for what we discussed. My stomach dropped. I set down the food and scrolled through her inbox. Email after email revealed their plan. Not just an affair, a complete corporate takeover. The board trusts me completely. Jacob had written weeks earlier. When I tell them she's been unstable, they'll support termination. Her 48% ownership means nothing if she's voted out for cause. Melissa's response was calculated and cruel. My documentation will support everything. Every time she questions you gets noted as aggressive behavior. Every work from home day becomes absence without communication. We have sufficient evidence. My hands remained steady as I photographed everything, 23 pictures in total. I heard footsteps approaching and carefully closed the laptop, unwrapping the Thai food just as Jacob entered with 2 colleagues. What a nice surprise. His affection seemed genuine to anyone who didn't know better. I played the loving wife, mentioned needing to return to work, and left. In the parking garage, I threw up beside my car. That night, I began documenting everything while Jacob slept beside me. Every contribution I'd made, every line of code I'd written, every innovation that had emerged from my work. I created encrypted backups across multiple cloud services he didn't know existed. I bought a discrete recording device and started capturing meetings where Jacob presented my ideas as his own. The hardest part was maintaining the facade, kissing him goodbye each morning, pretending I didn't know he was systematically destroying me while planning a future with someone else. Some nights I worked until dawn. But this wasn't vengeful code. Not yet. This was insurance. I embedded tracking protocols throughout every system I'd built, invisible markers that would prove authorship. I created backdoor access, not to harm the platform, but to ensure I could prove it was mine. I started seeing a therapist an hour away, paying cash under a false name. "What you're describing is textbook gaslighting," she said during our 3rd session. "But what if I'm wrong? What if I'm just paranoid?" She looked at me over her glasses. "You have photographic evidence of their conspiracy. That's not paranoia. That's pattern recognition." December's holiday party was torture. Jacob and Melissa maintained professional distance while their eyes found each other constantly. I wore my best dress and smiled until my face ached. 2 weeks before Christmas, I overheard them on a conference line I'd quietly joined early. After New Year's, Jacob was saying, "We'll do it in January." "Clean break, divorce papers?" Melissa asked. "Same day. By February, you'll officially be coup and we can stop hiding." I muted my line and documented everything. That night, I worked until dawn, not on company code, but on my insurance policy. I didn't create destruction. I created vulnerability. Small gaps that would only matter if someone knew exactly where to look. The kind of security holes that hackers dream about finding. I wasn't planning to use them directly. But if Jacob wanted everything from me, he should understand that everything included the knowledge of how to protect what I'd built. January arrived. The final morning, I chose my best business suit, the one from our first major investor pitch. My hands were steady applying makeup, fastening the watch Jacob had given me for our anniversary. The call came at exactly 9. "Jacob needs you immediately," his assistant said, voice uncomfortable. I walked through the office with my head high. Developers glanced up as I passed. Did they already know? In his office, the stage was set. Jacob behind the mahogany desk, Melissa beside him with proprietary hand placement, and an HR representative lurking in the corner with a folder. "Please sit," Jacob said in his rehearsed CEO voice. I'm fine standing. His jaw tightened. I wasn't following his script. We need to discuss your employment status, he began. You mean my position as co-founder and CTO? Your position as an employee, he corrected sharply, which is being terminated immediately. The words hung between us. On what grounds? Performance issues, failure to collaborate, creating a hostile environment. We have extensive documentation. Documentation from whom? That's confidential, Melissa interjected, but thoroughly verified. I looked at her directly. How long have you been sleeping with my husband? The HR representative made a strangled sound. That's exactly the kind of baseless accusation proving our point. Jacob said coldly. I remained perfectly calm, my phone recording everything from my pocket. The decision is final, he continued, sliding paperwork across the desk. 2 weeks severance, 30 days health insurance. And that cruel smile appeared. You can keep your old laptop. From the early days, consider it sentimental value. He had no idea he was handing me a loaded weapon. Generous, I said flatly. There's one more matter. He pulled out another envelope. I've filed for divorce. Papers arrive tomorrow morning. I'm moving out tonight. Cleaner to handle everything at once, even expecting it. The words felt like being hollowed out. Anything else? Security will escort you out. Standard procedure. I picked up the termination packet and the laptop bag he'd positioned for this moment. Brenda, Jacob said as I turned to leave. I stopped but didn't turn around. For what it's worth, you're brilliant. But brilliance without political savvy only gets you so far. I turned to face him one final time. You're right. I never learned to play games. I was too busy building the company you're about to destroy. Security escorted me through the office, the walk of shame he'd orchestrated. At my desk, I was given 10 minutes to pack personal items. I made a show of slowly collecting things. A coffee mug, a photo, a stress ball. I left everything important. The awards, certificates, framed achievements. Let them gather dust. Through the lobby, past the reception desk, out the glass doors. The cold January air hit my face as I emerged carrying that laptop bag. Behind me, the building rose into gray Seattle skies, containing everything I'd built and lost. My phone buzzed a calendar notification I'd set months ago. System maintenance to 10 minutes. I looked back at the building once more, then walked to my car. 10 minutes until the code activated. 10 minutes until they learned what happens when you steal from someone who built your entire foundation. I sat in my car across the street, watching through rain-streaked windows as the chaos unfolded. At 9:10, my hidden code activated. Not destruction, just revelation. Security vulnerabilities I'd strategically embedded began opening like flowers in sunlight. Within minutes, the building's rhythm changed. People moved with increasing urgency through the windows. More appeared in the lobby, walking with purpose that bordered on panic. My phone provided running commentary. Firewall rules modified. Authentication, timeouts adjusted. Backup verification disabled. System monitoring delayed. Each change was tiny individually. Collectively, catastrophic. Like loosening bolts on a bridge, one quarter turn at a time, the structure holds until... Suddenly, it doesn't. By 9:14, developers were running through the halls. The client portal had crashed. Fortune 500 companies monitoring their security in real time suddenly had nothing. International hackers noticed immediately. Moscow, Beijing, London, Snow Polo probes came from everywhere. CoreShield, the company promising to predict and prevent cyber attacks, broadcasting its vulnerabilities to anyone skilled enough to notice. I watched Jacob appear in the lobby, gesturing wildly. His CEO's composure was cracking. Melissa stood beside him, her red power dress now looking more like a target. By 9:20, news vans were arriving. A cybersecurity company under active attack was instant headline material. My phone rang. Richard Thompson, our lead investor. What the hell is happening? He demanded. Our portfolio is hemorrhaging value. I wouldn't know, Richard. I was terminated this morning. Silence. That's impossible. The Pacific financial save was 3 days ago. Ask Jacob. But the attack started minutes after you left. He stopped, gears turning. I'm locked out of all systems, Richard. Even if I wanted to help, I couldn't. He cursed and hung up. More calls flooded in clients, investors, former colleagues, journalists. I sent them all to voicemail. Then Jacob's name appeared. I let it ring 4 times before answering. I need you back immediately. He said, no greeting. I was escorted out by security. Remember? Stop playing games. The entire system is failing. Your code is the only thing that can fix this. My code isn't the problem, Jacob. Then what is? These vulnerabilities appeared from nowhere. The timing is unfortunate, I agreed calmly. Please. His voice broke. I know this morning was bad, but the company is dying. Your company. You made that clear. I'll bring you back. Full restoration with Melissa as my supervisor. Silence. Melissa grabbed the phone. This is beneath you. Whatever vendetta you have, innocent people are being hurt. The employees who watched me humiliated. That was protocol 2. Jacob took the phone back. The Russians are inside our systems. Actual Russian hackers downloading client data. Should have invested more in security infrastructure instead of reorganizing to push out your co-founder. I'm begging you. 3 words from a man who'd never begged for anything. I can't help you, Jacob. You made sure of that. I'll give you full admin access right now and contaminate the crime scene. I'm sure the FBI will love that. The sound he made wasn't quite a sob. Good luck with everything. I ended the call. The news spread like wildfire. By noon, 70% of major contracts had termination clauses invoked. The FBI issued warnings advising companies to implement alternative security measures immediately. The stock price collapsed from $47 to $12 and kept falling. Within days, I had consulting offers flooding in. Companies suddenly desperate to ensure their security had no hidden vulnerabilities. They didn't just want my expertise, they wanted the woman who'd survived the industry's most spectacular betrayal. Within 2 weeks, I was making more as a consultant than I'd made annually at CoreShield. The industry publications became my morning guilty pleasure over coffee. CoreShield loses 3 more major clients. Inside the chaos, former employees described toxic leadership. From $8 million to nothing, a cautionary tale. Someone leaked internal details to TechCrunch, probably Sarah. The comment sections were brutal. Classic case of ego over expertise. You don't fire your technical architect and expect to survive in cybersecurity. 6 weeks later, Melissa's departure made news. Sarah texted me, "You should have seen it." He called her incompetent in front of everyone. She threw her laptop at him. Security had to intervene. I felt something twist inside, not sympathy exactly, but recognition. Melissa had thought she was special, different from me. Now she was learning what being discarded felt like. 3 months after the collapse, Jacob appeared at my door late one night. The transformation shocked me. He'd lost significant weight, his hair unkempt, wearing a wrinkled shirt from our dating days. Dark circles made his eyes look hollow. "Can we talk?" His voice cracked. I almost said no. Instead, curiosity won. I let him inside. He perched nervously on my couch while I remained standing. The FBI cleared us criminally, but civil lawsuits from investors are crushing me. Melissa's embezzlement schemes, those consulting fees, you question DIM, facing massive liability. You signed those checks. Oh. She convinced me it was standard practice. Emergency fund protection. He ran his hands through his hair. Doesn't matter now. She's gone. Left for Texas, working at her uncle's car dealership, last I heard. What do you want, Jacob? He pulled out a folder with trembling hands. I'm offering you 48% ownership, full shareholder rights, board position, complete technical autonomy. I laughed sharply. 48% of nothing is still nothing. That won't be nothing if you come back. The platform works. You built something extraordinary. Those vulnerabilities that destroyed us, they were surgical, precise. Our eyes met. Someone who could create those could also fix them permanently. He knew. Of course he knew. Why only 48%? Why not 50? I need to maintain voting control for investors. But you'd have veto power on major decisions. Essentially equal partners like we always should have been. I walked to the window, making him wait. The satisfaction of seeing him broken should have felt better. Instead, I just felt hollow. Melissa is completely gone. I'll put it in writing. Permanently banned from any company involvement. And my technical decisions. Absolute authority. I won't even have access to core systems if you don't want. Do the remaining employees know you're here? The 12 people left told me to come. Sarah specifically said I'd thrown away the best thing that ever happened to the company out of ego and stupidity. We spent 2 hours reviewing his proposal. Lawyers had prepared everything. Every provision I demanded was already included. Plus protections I hadn't considered. Full benefits retroactive to termination. Compensation for months away. A clause requiring my approval for any future company sale. When do you need an answer? Honestly, yesterday. But I have no right to push. After he left, I called my attorney. He offered you what? She sounded stunned. Is it legally solid? I'll review it. But from your description, yes. The question is whether you want to return to that environment. Did I? My consulting business was thriving. I was my own boss, choosing clients and hours. Why return to the place of my humiliation? But then I thought about the platform, my code, my innovation sitting dormant in a dying company. The potential wasted, the problems it could solve if properly managed. Monday morning. I walked through CoreShield's doors for the first time in 3 months. The office was ghostly. Empty desks, dark offices, the reception area unmanned. The 12 remaining employees clustered in the break room, now converted to makeshift operations. They all stood when I entered. Sarah stepped forward. Welcome back. We've prepared a status presentation whenever you're ready. Where's Jacob? Small conference room. He said he'd stay out of your way unless needed. Smart, giving me space to establish authority. I spent the morning reviewing damage. It was worse than imagined. But underneath the patches and workarounds, my architecture remains solid. Give me 72 hours. I told the team. We'll not only be operational, we'll be stronger than before. The work was exhausting, but familiar. Every line of code welcomed me back like an old friend. The vulnerabilities I'd created were still there, dormant but dangerous. I closed them systematically, then built new defenses that transformed former weaknesses into strengths. By Wednesday afternoon, the platform hummed beautifully. Not just functional-elegant. Jacob appeared in the server room doorway. Monitoring systems are all green. First time since January. They'll stay that way. Thank you. I looked at him, really looked. I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing it for what this platform could be. For the problems it can solve. I know. Good. Now let me work. The first board meeting with my new authority established the dynamic clearly. I didn't sit at the head where Jacob traditionally presided. I sat directly opposite him, equal and opposing. Richard Thompson's surprise was evident. Brenda, I heard you were back but wasn't sure I believed it. 48% ownership makes it worthwhile. His eyebrows rose. That's one vote from control. Brenda has full technical authority and veto power on major decisions. Jacob confirmed, looking better but stripped of his former confidence. Other board members filtered in, each showing surprise at the new power structure. Before we begin, I interrupted as Jacob called the meeting to order. I need to clarify the new structure. All technical decisions, technical hiring, and platform development go through me. Jacob handles business operations, but any decision affecting the core product requires my approval. That seems one member started. Non-negotiable, I finished. Those are the terms that brought me back. Anyone with issues can speak now, and I'll happily walk away with my 48% voting rights. Silence. They knew what that meant. Let's hear the recovery plan, Richard said slowly. I laid out my vision, not just recovery, but transformation. We'd use lessons from the attack to build something unprecedented. A security platform that had survived the worst and emerged stronger. It's brilliant, Richard admitted. But we need clients to believe again. They will. Because we're being transparent about what happened, not details, but the lesson. We're the security company that learned from failure. That's more valuable than false promises. Jacob started to speak. I think what Brenda means. I said exactly what I mean. I cut him off. I don't need translation. His face flushed, but he nodded. Of course, my apologies. The room shifted. They'd never seen anyone shut down Jacob so definitively. The power dynamic was crystal clear now. Over subsequent weeks, Jacob tested boundaries constantly. Each time I shut him down publicly and decisively. He scheduled a CTO candidate interview without telling me. I walked in mid-interview. Thank you for coming, but the position isn't available. We won't be hiring a CTO while I'm here. After the candidate left, Jacob's composure cracked. You embarrassed me. You went behind my back. How does it feel? He tried implementing cost cuts, starting with development team equipment. I called an all-hands meeting and overruled him publicly. Investment in technical infrastructure is non-negotiable. In fact, we're doubling the equipment budget. We can't afford, Jacob started. We can't afford not to. Check the books. Pacific Financial's contract alone covers it. By month 3, we'd recovered 4 major clients. Each contract came with my personal security review, my signature on every assessment. Tech blogs started calling it the Martinez effect. New clients came calling, wanting the platform that had been battle-tested, broken, and rebuilt stronger. Our vulnerability had become our strength. Month 4, late evening, alone in the office, reviewing quarterly reports. The numbers were exceptional. We'd already surpassed our previous peak valuation. You did it, Jacob said suddenly. Did what? The vulnerabilities? The attack. You orchestrated everything. I set down my pen and met his eyes. That's a serious accusation. It's not an accusation. It's acknowledgement. The timing, the precision, the way vulnerabilities disappeared the moment you returned. No one else could have done it. If you believe that, why haven't you contacted authorities? He laughed bitterly. With what proof? You're too smart to leave evidence. Besides, we both know I deserved it. You destroyed my life. Tried stealing my work, humiliated me. Betrayed our marriage and partnership for someone who abandoned you when things got difficult. I know. Do you? Do you really understand what it felt like watching you and Melissa plan my execution while I slept next to you every night? Seeing my life's work credited to others. Being escorted out like a criminal from the company I built? His hands clenched on the desk. I was an idiot. Arrogant, selfish, stupid. I threw away the best thing in my life for an ego boost and someone who told me what I wanted to hear. Yes, I agreed. You did. We sat in silence for a moment. The platform is worth $12 million now, he said finally. For a million more than our peak. Your 48% is worth more than the entire company was before. Money was never the point, Jacob. Then what was? Respect, recognition, acknowledgement that I was never your supporting player. I was the main architect of everything we built. You are. He met my eyes. You are. And everyone knows it now. 6 months after my return, we held a company celebration. Not in some expensive restaurant, but in the office with the 35 employees we'd grown back to. I stood at the front, not beside Jacob, but alone as the technical founder who'd saved the company. Core Shield fell because we forgot what made us strong, I said, looking directly at Jacob. We forgot that technology isn't about appearance or position or politics. It's about building something that works, something that protects, something that matters. The applause was genuine. Sarah started it, but everyone joined in, even Jacob. Later, as we cleaned up, Jacob approached me one last time. For what it's worth, he said, you're the most brilliant person I've ever known. I just wish I'd remembered that before I lost everything that mattered. You didn't lose everything, I reminded him. You still have 52% of a $12 million company. That's not what I meant. I knew what he meant. But that door had closed the moment he'd chosen Melissa over me. Position over partnership, ego over love. Good night, Jacob, I said, gathering my things as I left the office. My office now as much as his. I thought about the timer that had started this all. 10 minutes that changed everything. The code that had brought a giant to its knees and lifted me from the ashes of betrayal. Walking to my car under Seattle's ever-present clouds, I felt the weight of my keys heavier now with the additional office keys, server room access, the physical proof of my position. My phone buzzed with a text from a reporter wanting to interview me about the greatest comeback story in tech. I deleted it. The real story was too complex for headlines. It's too raw for public consumption. It was about more than business or betrayal or revenge. It was about discovering that sometimes the person others underestimate most is exactly who holds all the power. The platform hummed along, secure and strong, protecting data across the globe. My code, my creation, finally acknowledged as mine. And Jacob Heed learned the hardest lesson of his life. Never underestimate the woman who built your kingdom, because she knows exactly how to bring it down. And more importantly, she's the only one who can build it back up.